commie was often the catch-all for anyone who had progressive affiliations, but it seems like the terms like woke liberals, DEI, are being used by Republicans to have the same effect, to undermine civil rights,
Absolutely.
LGBTQ rights, immigrant rights. Is woke the new pink, or is it different? Have they overdone it in some way?
Well, I think there are a lot of parallels, right? So in the same way that during the Red Scare, you could say, well, look, yes, we should have a reasonable conversation and talk about, the possibility of Soviet espionage, right? Today we can have a conversation about, what is the appropriate level of, material to teach our children. And then some people do have that conversation. But in both cases, the idea, of communism or of wokeism, has really been hijacked by a movement that sees this idea as a door or a key to go through a door to make radical changes that go beyond conversations about curriculum, right? Or affirmative action. Also, diversity, affirmative action, these things we've been talking about for a long time. And, yes, today we talk about it in, maybe new terms, trans rights or what have you. But to me, it's not radically different. What's changed is that the critics, the opponents, the reactionaries have figured out a way to really weaponize this and to make it, I think a new witch hunt, a new Red Scare.
A new version. Now, it's not just on the left. Two centrist Republicans, Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska and North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis, have both recently announced they will not be seeking re-election. Trump had threatened to back the primary challenger Tillis after he voted against the big, beautiful bonkers bill. What a moment where the center cannot hold. How do you look at this? Or that's sort of, it feels like this poem keeps getting played out.
Yeah, but, I don't know. I mean, I think one of the challenges for a historian is you always want to say, well, the way things worked in the past will kind of indicate the way things work today, right? And so that allows you to sort of say, well, look, there's a pendulum and it swings back and forth. And you can look at American history and say, well, that is kind of how it went. On the other hand, empires fall, change happens. And one of the things that I'm very worried about is that you look at the Red Scare, I think there are a couple of things that really prevented it from getting out of hand. And, it was a strong judiciary, a fairly liberal judiciary, especially under Earl Warren, and one that was very focused on civil liberties. It was, a political establishment on the right that was ultimately averse to the Red Scare. Not everybody, and there's certainly people who embraced it, but Eisenhower and kind of the moderate Republicans, they stepped in, and I think they were really part of the explanation for why it ended up not happening, or not going to the extent that someone like McCarthy wanted it to. Today, we don't really have those. I mean, the judiciary is wobbly at best, right? And certainly the Supreme Court, given its recent decisions, I don't think is something that liberals, progressives should be looking to for comfort.
Savior.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tillis and Bacon. It's like every couple of weeks, there's some new member of the establishment who just says, I can't. And of course, there aren't many. I mean, the establishment doesn't really have any power anymore.
Right. The Republican establishment.
Yeah, Republican establishment.
The Reagan Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, just reasonable people.
Yeah, I would think Reagan has to come back from the dead, I suppose. But they wouldn't like him either. No. He's too much of a pinko.